Hey everyone, it's Dan, Urban Farms Manager again. We're almost at the end of this crazy season that was unlike any other season. And everyone has done a tremendous job growing all of their summer crops. And I've had a lot of inquiries about growing late season vegetables as well, crops that are going to grow in the fall that you can seed now in early September and or in late August. Um, and I've gotten a lot of people seeds. We've gotten a lot of different crops in the ground, and because there was so much interest in that this season, I just wanted to take a few minutes to discuss what that's all about and what kind of vegetables you would be growing this time of year from direct seed, and how you're going to bring them to maturity as we enter into the fall. And the first thing to remember is the really you want to know when your first frost date is going to happen. And obviously, we never know exactly when that's going to happen, but we have a good idea. And it has changed a little bit. It used to be in New York, in New York, the New York City area, which is a 7B climate, I believe, or it's in Zone 7, which is kind of in the middle of the climate zones. Um, it used to be in early to mid October that you would have your first frost, and that would kill off, your summer vegetables. Um, I've found that it's typically now later in October. There have been some seasons where it was even in early November. But for the sake of for the sake of planning, I think you should typically imagine that your first frost is going to be somewhere in the middle to latter end of October in Zone 7. If you're in a colder zone, it would be earlier. If you're in a warmer zone, it would be later. And the two types of vegetables that are you are going to want to plant late in the season, and this is what I've been telling anyone, or everyone, sorry, are either plants that mature quickly, so that are going to mature before that frost date, or plants that are frost tolerant. So what we've generally done is a mixture of both. So plants that are going to mature quickly, like inside a month or a little bit longer, are typically leafy greens, lettuce, different kinds of lettuces, arugula, those are big ones, spinach as well. And there are some root vegetables, some radishes will mature really quickly. There are a few turnips that will mature quickly as well. The other side is the frost tolerant. These are plants that are going to be able to withstand a certain amount of frost, particularly a light frost. Turnips, kale, chard can withstand a light frost. So we've done a mixture of those. So let's say you have all these in the ground. Maybe you've done some carrots as well, because carrots can kind of be on both of the spectrums. There are some short maturity date carrots, and there are some frost tolerant longer maturity date carrots. Um, Maybe you've harvested all your spinach. It's sometime in early October, and then suddenly we get an early frost. And your kale, for instance, has not totally matured. You might actually be able to overwinter a lot of these plants and get them through the entire winter just with a little bit of frost protection. And what I typically use is this stuff. This is called Harvest Guard. It's just a kind of gossamer like film that you put over the plants. You can layer it depending on how cold it gets, and that can get you through the frost. So if you find yourself in that situation, or even if you just want some of this, I'll put a link in the description so you can go look at it and just let me know, and I'll get it to you. Um, some of these plants you really can bring through the entire winter. So last season, at one of the sites, we started turnips and endive. We started them a little too late, so they were not mature by the time we were getting into frost. So we just covered them with harvest guard, and the next spring they blew up. Right. So when you try to overwinter something, the point isn't that you're going to be able to harvest it all winter. You're not. You're just going to get to spring, and then it's going to go back into its growth stage and mature, often relatively quickly. The big thing that kind of determines plant growth isn't so much the temperature, but its light availability. So if there's when there's less light in the winter, those plants aren't going to grow as much. There are some ways around that, but we don't have the technology to grow plants all winter, to have them actually grow all winter and be harvestable. but you can definitely overwinter some stuff. So if you have frost tolerant plants that you would like to try overwintering, just let me know. Um, and that's about it. So the key things to remember: be aware of that frost date. I think at this point I'm probably not going to send out too many more seed packets just because, well, it's far enough into September at this point that I think everyone who's gotten them, who has wanted them, has gotten them. Um, Make sure you're updating me on the status of those plants. And if you want Harvest Guard or any other winter protection, just let me know.